Andy joins us this morning on the Harbor One hotline. Hey, Mike.
Hey, I heard you guys talking the other day about how wonderful opening day is. Don't they ever check the weather in New England in March? I mean, it's 38 degrees and they're trying to play baseball. Have you ever tried to hit a ball? It stings your hands. You catch it, it stings your hands. You're sitting behind home plate. It's completely in the shadows. You're freezing your ass off.
Yeah.
Just go south for 2 weeks until the middle of April. Give it a chance. What's the matter with those
It
people?
was warmer when you and I were there for the Winter Classic than it was yesterday, Mike.
It's nuts.
Move it to May 1st.
Well, I mean, you could theoretically have there are other cold weather teams, so you'd have to have them start on the road.
Yeah, why not?
Season,
So that's not so difficult. They got to go there anyway. Might as well make it a pleasant experience.
Oh, you don't need 162 games, so just push opening day to May 1st.
Did you watch any?
I like that too.
Did you watch any of the game yesterday?
Yeah, well, until it got too painful, and then I just turned it off. I'm masochistic.
Oh,
but by the way, before we go any further, New Haven is like one of the pizza capitals, if not the pizza capital of the world. You don't like Pepe's Pizza?
No, I don't.
You don't like Modern a Pizza?
Everybody said
Sally's a Pizza.
Get him, Mike.
People said to me, "You got to go down. You have to go try Frank Pepe's." So I went down there. Brees was playing a football game down there, and I went down, and it did nothing for me. Frank Pepe's did absolutely. You're on the Cape. Cape Cod Pizza, arguably the very best bar pizza in the world, and how can you say that New Haven is better?
Well, I think bar pizza sucks myself.
Yes! Coming from somebody, please, finally, somebody.
God.
All he does, Mike, is talking about bar pizza, bar pizza, bar pizza.
Sounds like my sister.
All he said is
both a pain in the ass.
Bar pizza is like Elio's toaster oven pizza.
No, it's not like that.
I feel like Mike Milbury is like Aaron Rodgers with the family issues. He's never on this show talking about anybody in his family that he likes.
Finally.
Oh, well.
Somebody who knows
the shoe
pizza.
fits. In my case, that's appropriate, right?
Yeah, for you it is. All right. Well, listen. Bruins secure the President's Trophy. I know Jim Montgomery called it the President's Cup. That's golf. Somebody pointed out earlier, but short of the power play, I guess. Is there anything else that you're concerned about when it comes to this hockey team getting closer and closer to the playoffs here?
You know what? I mean, power play, clearly, I don't know what's happening there. They need to practice the damn thing. Somebody needs to coordinate this. Their entries seem to be just spontaneous, which is not going to work anymore. I mean, there are several ways to enter the zone when you have a man advantage and do it with some speed, or even if you can't do it with some, cleanly, you can go and retrieve it with the proper dumping, but that has to be pre-planned. I'm really shocked that they haven't found a way to just get the puck into the zone, if nothing else, and establish possession. After that, we can address some other issues, but it's a problem. The other thing that's creeping in here, two games against, modest opponents, and they have trouble with them. And I think part of the reason why, as you saw, they sat out the three big guys, Bergeron, Marchand, Lindholm, against Carolina, and the rest of the team got psyched up to play Carolina, and they won a game in overtime, and then they come back, and the big guys are back in the lineup, and then there's a relaxation mode, and they think they're going to win because the big guys are back. That's the trouble with picking and choosing your spots to rest people. You lose rhythm. You lose that kind of continuity. I mean, I can't remember. I guess when I played, we had a couple of times when one or two guys were sat out, but it didn't happen very often, and people were reluctant actually to sit out. It was considered sort of, almost, I don't know, lazy, or I guess the big guys did it, but it didn't happen very often. And I'm worried about them hitting their stride at the right point. Although they anytime they've had an obstacle, they've seemed to have come back and conquered it. So let's see if they can conquer this one. But I don't like this load management, resting guys, and then we'll see what happens the last 7 games. And I think there's going to be a good, reasonable size break, number of days before they start the playoffs. So it could be an issue, slow out of the gate. But otherwise, I mean, happy day.
Mike, when you talk about the power play, give us kind of some of the fans that really don't know the ins and out of hockey. Like, there are set plays that you can run in football. We know there are set plays in basketball. Are there, like, set plays that you can run in hockey, especially on the power play, because I feel like it's so difficult with the flow of the game. It's so reactionary. Is there like actual plays that you can draw up and design to maybe, make them be more successful on the power play?
Well, you've seen the setup that they have. Marchand on the half wall. He tries to hit Bergeron in the slot in the bumper area. They have an option with Pastrnak on a one-timer, and DeBrusk usually is net front presence with Lindholm mostly, or McAvoy, who kind of patrol the blue line, and they work that pretty well. Lindholm does a good job of that, but I think they've become too stagnant. I think there was a goal that Marchand scored off of Bergeron's skate, and he was on the other side of the ice. There's not enough movement for me. So to answer the question, there are places where you can expect people to go and get there at the right time to be open. Not really set plays because they develop so quickly that you have to be. It's a spontaneous thing, and I think they've lost their spontaneity. I don't think anybody likes that. I think power play and offense in general is you move the puck and you move yourself to get open. So it's a constant rotation and a constant struggle to get some place where there isn't anybody. Brett Hull and Mike Bossy, they used to say they'd hide in plain sight. They'd be in the high slot, but they'd keep moving in, out, over someplace where they present themselves as an option on a pass. And that's what I think is missing right now. It's too stagnant. And the first thing they have to address, so before that, they got to get the puck in the zone with possession. If you can't get it in cleanly, you can still dump and go get it with a flood of players. But right now, it's a bit of a mess.
Mike, we were talking about it at the beginning of the show, but last week there was a late hit on Patrice, and then last night again, and you've got guys, sticking up for their captain, of course. But do you think that there's any chance that players from opposing teams are targeting him?
I don't think in either of those cases was he a target, but yeah, he's certainly going to be a target in a couple of weeks. Why wouldn't you? I mean, Marchand too. Get him off his game. Get him to be, the little ogre that he sometimes turns into and takes stupid penalties. If they can do that, and I think both those players are mature enough now to know that they can, they got to steer clear of that come playoff time. But I think the key players on the opposition are always targets in the playoffs, and I expect it. But in the last couple of games, I didn't think that were too egregious. But yeah, I mean they're gonna stick it to Patrice Bergeron whenever they can.
Mike, we talked about this with Razor when he was in earlier this week. Lindholm, legit Norris candidate in your mind?
He is. He's clearly a better all-around player than Erik Karlsson, but Erik Karlsson's offensive numbers are so gaudy, are so ridiculously good that I think he'll probably. I'm pretty sure he's going to win it, even though he's on a crappy team and he doesn't kill penalties. His defensive game is suspect, but it just people gravitate to those offensive numbers, and I think they'll gravitate to the numbers that he's created because they are in fact so absurdly good. But I think Lindholm, if you ask me to choose one of the two players to be on my team, I would pick Lindholm because he can play defense. I mean, his plus minus is a funny statistic, but in this case, he's so far ahead of so many defensemen that you have to give it credence. And just watching him play, shutting down teams, shutting down key players, and his ability to recover is amazing. His outlet pass is amazing, and I would say that he's the best. He deserves the Norris Trophy more than Erik Karlsson because Erik Karlsson's just a run and gun guy. He's almost like a rover rather than a defenseman.
Oh, and his minutes. I mean, he's averaging 23 minutes a game.
Lindholm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, he makes it seem so easy. He and McAvoy can eat up minutes and just, it hardly looks like they're breaking a sweat. It's and they have with Orlov, they have the top 3 defensive package in the league, and the rest of them are pretty damn good too. They're set on the blue line. They're set in goal. They're set on forwards. They're set everywhere. They just need to put it together at the right time and hope that if people charge after Bergeron and Marchand, that those guys can stay healthy. And then you can't put your money down on anybody else right now besides the Bruins. They've been that dominant. They've been that consistent over the course of 75 games so far, and there's no reason to expect that they won't handle it well in the playoffs. They've got experience in that area as well. The only position that's not experienced in this particular fashion of playoffs is the goal. And we'll see what happens. But have they been good or what? They've been great all year long, just composed and on top of it and focused at game after game.
Now, Mike, you've seen a lot of hockey, and you kind of see how it constantly evolves and evolves and evolves. When you look at the game today, it seems like everybody's so skilled, but part of being skilled is the physicality kind of, not there in the game as much as it used to be, because it seems like now players might turn down some hits. They're not as physical as they were. And maybe is that a way that a team or a coach could tap into a team that might be playing the Bruins and saying, hey, if we can kind of get the old school physical way and knocking guys like Pastrnak off the puck, this is maybe a way to beat them. Or is it just too hard to do because nobody really has that mindset anymore?
It's difficult to do, not only because of mindset and safety issues and rule changes. I mean, it's a whole different approach. You're right. But when we've seen the Bruins have trouble lately, it's always been about teams that have pace. And if you have pace and you have, as Brian Burke would say, truculence, and you can finish your checks, you're going to give the Bruins, you're going to give them trouble. That's what happened in Detroit. That's what happened in Chicago. That's what's going to happen if they play Carolina when Carolina's on their game and not thinking they can win because their big three are out. But if you have pace, and by that I mean close a gap between, if you stand up against Greg and you're 10 feet away, he can see everything. But if you stand 2 feet in front of him, he can't see anything. Mm-hmm. You're going to be in his way. And that's what the pace is when you're trying to forecheck. You get there, you close the gap. And not only that, it's synchronized with somebody else going to the possible outlets, 2 or 3 guys. And now the defensemen are in. That synchronization could give any team trouble. And it's what the Bruins have to be aware of. They need to know that teams are going to charge after them. And they should. And if the teams are any good, and if they're well coached, they will be physical. They'll finish their checks, because I don't care who you are. You start getting banged in the boards with a guy's coming from the blue line in, you're going to remember it, and it's going to impact your thinking.
Mike, the game winner coming from Pasta last night, does it worry you at all that he's going to run out of steam when it counts the most? No,
I don't think so. I mean, he's actually gotten banged around a little bit, I've noticed lately, but he seems to bounce back, and he's a goal scorer. He wants to score goals. He's still hungry. He set a personal best this year. He continues to look to shoot the puck. I don't see him slowing down. And the good news is, if he does slow down, there are a number of people that can pick up the slack, including a guy like Taylor Hall, who's not even in the lineup right now. But they have other guys that are pitching in, and that's what makes them such a prohibitive favorite, is that throughout the lineup, they've got guys that can do what other guys might often do but don't do on a particular basis, and they can fill in. The depth is outstanding.
Mike, I don't know if you heard earlier, but Scoops Hill was at Fenway yesterday, and Sean Thornton let him know that he believes, without speaking to Patrice, that he's heard this is Bergeron's final year and Krejci's final year.
And Krejci's, yeah.
And that they're doing this one big cup run as a swan song for those two. What do you think that would mean for this season, and do you buy into it?
I can't comment on it, but I'm not surprised. I don't think they're going to, I don't think they're going to take the hometown discount again. I mean, imagine these two guys are making, what are they making between
million?
Less than $3 million total.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
it's crazy. Yeah, so I think it makes sense to me. And what happens next is, they got to hope that Zacha can play second line center, and then they've got to go out and find a first line center. It's kind of why I was hoping that they make that deal when Bo Horvat was available, because not only was he a fit for now, but he would have been fit for the next 10 years. But that option is gone. But it will leave a massive hole, one that we can see how when Krejci came back and Bergeron came back, you can see how it just filled out the roster perfectly. It just made it easier to fit everybody in on the wings and on the third line, and there was no talk of Coyle as a second-line center. He's been a terrific player in the third line, one of the best in the league, and that's where he slots. And everybody else just fit into place with those two guys. Take them out of the lineup, you've got turmoil.
I think they're both back if they don't win.
I was going to say, I mean, but then again, it's all speculation, but we speculated about Tom Brady and whether when Tom Brady won that one with Tampa, was he going to be done? And it just seems to me like if they win, that Patrice Bergeron would hang it up.
Yeah, but
I guess the question becomes: does Krejci want to play elsewhere, play here, play without him?
Well, they both can. I think Mike, you make a good point. They both can make good money, but even Krejci, who's still, younger, can make some good money. But I also think they're having fun. But the question is, like you said, Mike, is that they're not going to take that hometown discount again next year.
I don't think they will, and it sort of does say that this is probably it. They wanted one last run, and they're buddies, and they've got good teammates around them. They've been there for a while, and it's all come together. And really, if they were to win the cup, how could you duplicate this? You couldn't. I mean, you really can't. It's just it's historic, unprecedented, and if they win it, it would be the perfect time to say sayonara.
All right, Mike Milbury, who knows hockey, doesn't know pizza, but he knows hockey.
Please.
Always a pleasure.
What's the best pizza you've ever had?
Bob Pizza.
Bob Pizza.
Town Spa in Stoughton.
Oh, man, I was there. It's just saltines with cheese and sauce on it.
I try to tell him.
Bite your tongue. How dare you?
Saltines.
I mean, how dare you?
I try to tell him.
All right, Michael, we'll talk to you next week.
Okay, see ya.